go, girl.
Hi, Emma. How are you? Thank you for coming on the podcast. So, to start, would you mind just telling everyone a little bit about you, but your journey into the spiritual world?
So, I am it's so kind of easy to give you a million labels, but how I describe it is I'm an energy worker, I'm a healer, clairvoyant, crystal worker. Basically, you hear this big word light worker, but that's what it is. And alongside that, I kind of have gone for about 25 years of gathering different techniques just to channel in different ways to work with different people. But fundamentally, I move energy. I have the ability to work with someone to assist the flow of energy in and out of their body, to relieve anything that's no longer serving them. And then at the same time, I'm seeing these big, wild films of kind of where they've been, where they're going, what they're up. They're kind of, not about predicting the future so much, more about helping someone create it. Whereas it's kind of going, this is where you're at, and this is what's potential. And then working with people, coaching people. It's
Magic. It's amazing. So,
it's a million labels all in one.
yeah, I mean, that's so cool. But did this start when you were quite young? So how were you kind of, because you hear about clairvoyancy, some people have it from a child or you can build it. So how did it happen for you?
So I think I always say I was born that way, because it's not like something that hits you. You don't just hit an age and you go, oh my God, I'm feeling all these things.
Mm.
It's just who you are, but you also learn to resent it a little bit because it's not necessarily something everybody's doing. So you
Yeah.
feel really weird because of it. So I would always know how people were feeling. I'd always had lots of kind of imaginary friends, very, very sensitive, but very, very happy in those spaces, but completely obsessed with my grandparents on my mum's side. So sort of like what happened to them, like they both died before my sister and I were born, but just obsessed. And my mum was always like, they just died of a broken heart, let it go, let it go. And actually, I was meditating one day, I must have been about 7, when I started falling into crystals. And then it was
Wow.
between 7 and 11, I was sat at this kind of looking at this window, which I recognize now I was meditating. But actually, I was just sat in this flow, and this man walked towards me, and it wasn't like walking towards me as in like a human being. It was like a tracing paper in my mind is the best way I can describe it.
Wow.
And he said to me, I killed your granny. So I run into my mum. I'm like, Granddad killed granny. And she's like, no, you're making it up. And, shocked her. And then we're really close. I was like, I really upset my mum. And it was just all this kind of chaos. So I walked out of that room feeling like, right, well, shut that right down, because like you're mad, you're crazy. Go and be like your sister, who in my mind at that age had everything kind of mapped out, like effortlessly pretty, effortlessly cool, like all those things.
Right.
But the more you shut yourself down, the louder those things get. So at night time when I go to sleep, it all got quite loud, and then I didn't sleep so well. So then you kind of get tired. It was just, and you're fighting, and you're almost in fighting what you think's the monster. You're creating a monster in your mind. And then a couple of years later, it came out that my granddad had had a nervous breakdown, and he'd suffered with his mental health for quite some time. And when my mum was 24, he had my grandma had gone to leave him, and he grabbed her by the throat and caught a nerve in her neck and put her to sleep, so to speak. And my mum
Wow.
had found her at 24, so she hadn't
Oh,
done
thank you
anything
for
with it.
sharing that.
No, I always share it quite. I'm so open about it because I think it's really important. I think sometimes it scares people how open with it
No, I
I
agree. It's
am,
good. Yeah.
because it's important. Like mental health I think it's great that we live in a world now where we're talking about it so readily, but also it's this sort of shame complex around the fact that my mum doesn't think with it for
So your mum knew?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
She knew, but she hadn't dealt with it. So he was reaching out through me to heal the relationship, which is how the
Oh,
healing
wow.
then started. But before I fell into energy work, I just know everything. So I'd know if someone was upset. I went to an all-girls school, which is challenging at the best of times, but
Yeah.
when someone's upset, you'd assume it's because of you. You just think all the shit in the world is yours.
So you're taking on their energy?
But not because they're asking me to,
Just
because
because you're
I'm feeling
open.
all these things, and I'm going, well, it must be mine, because not in my world do I go home and go, that's your energy. You're like I can do now. At
Yeah.
that age, you're just like, oh, there's this tsunami, and I'm drowning.
Wow,
And I'm
that's
just
so
going to
intense.
turn it off. And they're going, no, you've got to open. And then I kind of fell into energy work. I always say that when I connect with my granddad like that, it's like an orgasm in your body. You feel like, and about, must have been in my 20s, I met this guy I work with, and he touched my shoulder, and my body went. I was like, oh my God, there's that feeling again. So I was like, I must love this person. Must love. Anyway, he turned out he was moving back to Australia. He also wasn't right for me, but in my mind, I was like, there's something in this. There's something in this, and he said, you've got to go and like, I do Reiki. And I thought at that stage, I thought Reiki was like sword fighting. So I was like, oh, that's quite attractive. But then he explained a little bit what it was, but I never really knew. And he said, you've got to go and like meet these people. They kind of do Reiki on cancer wards, palliative care. So they do it for the parents when the kids are having treatment. They do it for the
What, and he just knew you needed to go and do that?
Well, I think that was a complex one. He had real spiritual ego. Like I think I was, yeah. What he bought me was this. If I look at it now, it's like he connected me with these people who I then went on this first Reiki class with, and my eyes changed color, all the skin fell off my hands. I was the youngest person in the room by about 20 years, but I was like, I could see myself. So what the energy work had done is it gone, oh, here's a space where you can breathe, because here's something that can protect me. Here's something that can hold that. And here's something that I can do and give and interact with people without feel like I'm losing a bit of myself every time I do.
Wow, so there was a whole thing around protecting yourself and protecting your energy that you needed.
I lived in an old people's home for a time.
Did you?
It was converted old people's home, so it's haunted as hell.
Right.
So I'd get sick because energy sits. So I'd get sick. I was like a big walking open piece of sponge, and everything. And then people are like, I just feel so great being around you. And I'm like, I feel exhausted being in life. So it kind of like, I became more aware. So now it's been like a 20-year journey. I've been seeing, I was kind of felt like it was an apprenticeship. I was working kind of in media. I'd work evenings and weekends seeing clients, because when I started doing the energy work, I was like, well, this is a bit boring.
Right.
They're telling me to do these things with my hands, whereas I'm hearing, do this, and I'm feeling I need to do this. So I started to play with it a little bit more. And as I started to play with it, then these films came.
So is that something you like, images you see in your mind's eye?
Yeah, like a big movie. But I was like, and then I'd be working with people, and I was doing this like free of charge at this stage. And I'd be like, almost, this might sound really weird, but, and that's how everything started.
Like, I'm seeing this for you.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, like you've been reading my diary. And it's been, I've done a million things to kind of, I don't feel it's like you do one thing energetically, like Reiki and all these things, they're great keys to opening your energy up, but you have your own unique medicine. Like I used to spend every Sunday with a guy in the Secret Service who was ex-Secret Service, but he was a Cherokee. I used to walk like every Sunday we walk around the woods, kind of like doing kind of perception work, kind of protection work.
How did you come across him? How did you find him?
Everyone always just finds me.
Yeah, that's how it works, isn't it?
It's mad. And it'd be like, and then I knew when the time was to leave him and then go into something else. And then it was about becoming my inner guru. And but I've dealt a lot also with death. So I my first boyfriend, we weren't together at the time, but he died in a car crash. But he energetically came to visit me the week before he died. Best friend, like heart stopped while I was texting him. So then you're like, oh, you've got this affinity with helping people pass over, but it doesn't feel heavy. So there's all these mad things going on, and I'm like, how do you sort of succinct? And it's then you get to go, actually my life's work is my life.
Yeah,
because I'm learning all the time still, and I feel like you learn with every person you work with. Like I'm channeling and I'm guiding, but at the same time it's like there's a little bit of knowledge in there for me, and people come up with such brilliant wisdom sometimes, and I'm like, oh, that's amazing, like I've learned something in that. It's forever wheel of I don't think you can ever say like there's never going to be anything I don't need to learn.
Yeah, it's a long journey. But coming back to what you just said about people just find you, I actually feel like that about you. I can't even remember how I found you. I honestly, I just
as well, didn't we? I remember.
Yeah. Because obviously you know this, but and my listeners do know this, but I've been on this big spiritual journey and I'm still going. And I've actually booked my level 1 Reiki for September. So yeah, and that's just kind of for me. I just want to see what happens and kind of get a bit more into it. But I came across your website and I can't remember how, but it was just a weird feeling. I was like, I just need to meet her. I don't really know why. And then I booked an appointment with you and I said to your assistant, can I have a call with her before? Yeah, because I did know that. And then as soon as we had like a 10-minute chat, and I was like, who is this woman? Have to meet her. And obviously we've had some sessions together, and like, when you said like people love your energy, I've loved your energy, but your sessions, like, this, but they literally helped me change my life and quit my job, which actually, if we go on to now, because obviously you've written a couple of books and you've got all this casual, yeah. No, but actually what's even weirder is your book, which I've got here, the life-changing power of intuition. I read this last summer before I even knew who you were.
See, and then it starts these little
Yeah.
myriads of happening.
And I started, my spiritual awakening happened at the end of 2022, and I found this last summer, and I honestly before work would sit and try and do my tells, which we'll get onto now. So you've written this book on intuition, so something you know a lot about and you feel strongly about. So can you just start by saying your explanation of what intuition is?
Oh, okay. So I feel like it's something we downplay a lot. I think everybody's got intuition.
Yeah.
You might be like, oh, I'm psychic, I'm spiritual. Irregardless of whether you're a scientist, you work on hunch, you work on feeling. Intuition is a feeling. It's a way in which you connect with a wisdom within yourself, but also connects you to a higher power. And it also is this amazing, I want to call it like a spirit level or a dial within yourself that says, this is where you should be based on how it feels, and actually you're going a little bit far off that, come back. So it's something we all need to hook into. It uses the same voice for me as ego does, in that the voice in our head, it's the same voice we can hear, but the tones are very different. Where this tone of the intuition is loving, it's warm, it's supportive, it tells you anything is possible. But equally, ego sometimes can then creep in and go, I'm going to use that and send you into a bit of chaos, which is what we call spiritual ego. So it's a muscle for me that we need to all dial into, which we've all got. It's nothing we're encouraged. We're born into a system which is follow these rules, do these things. This is your life path, and it doesn't work like that. And there's this voice, there's this feeling that wants to almost puke itself out of your own feel, and we just go, oh no, oh no. And it can feel like anxiety when we don't tune into it. Like it moves in our body in so many ways in order to get heard. But when it's ready, when you can no longer deny it, it will just lovingly slap you in the face and say, this is it, this is the time.
Yeah, and I think that is probably something a lot of people can relate to, that if you aren't connected to, so I look back now, I live through my intuition now, but I look back over years and I think I knew then that wasn't right, but I wasn't in. Yeah.
It's like, I'm always right, you wouldn't take risks on other things.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, and I mean, I've been doing this for, like, I'm 40 now, so I've been doing this kind of like 20 plus years. And I sometimes used to kick myself when I went against my intuition. But now I go, well, if I hadn't, and I was just always righteous and I was always right, how would I have known what the contrast was?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
sometimes it's about going, oh, do you know what? I knew that, but I won't do it again.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's actually what led me to quit my job, because the time I'm thinking of, like, was like 4 years ago when I was in my last banking job, and from week I know everyone says that. I can't now either. But I remember I had taken this job at Bank of America, and I knew even before I took it that I didn't want it and it wasn't right. But I was in my ego as well. And I would just remember the first week, by the end of the first week, I just felt flat. I felt heavy. I knew it wasn't right. And I knew it from the get-go, but that was a huge lesson, as you say.
Absolutely,
But
absolutely.
yeah.
It's like relationships. Like,
Yep, been there.
When I met this guy, I was like, oh, he gives me the ick. I was like,
Really?
the base, right? And then everyone's like, oh, you should. It'd be so good for you. Like, you hardly ever date. So you go against your intuition. And then, surely enough, however many years later, that ick moment proved itself. And I'm like, I learned so much in that time about myself that I would never not. But I was like, never again will I feel like something tells me I have to. Like, moving job, like, oh, it's good for you, change, or you should be doing that. It's like, but it helped me when I went to leave my job. So I was working for a CEO while I was kind of writing I've channeled my first book in like 4 days and got so
amazing.
that. But that said, just like my coping mechanisms to stress were so insane that I never realized when anything then was kind of a problem, I could just handle it. And then my boss, and he won't mind me saying, he was a kind of a bit of a plonker. And I had no plan for years. Everyone's going, when you're going to leave, when you're going to leave. And I just because when the time's right, the time's right. Like, I'm not going to do anything about it till that time. And I literally, he was so rude to me that day, and I just took him aside and just said, "Do you know what? I'm going to leave." I had like £300 in the bank, and it was the trust, and it was kind of like, and I was like, "That's the time," and I've never looked back.
Yeah,
The
amazing.
timing has to be perfect, and that's the bit as humans we get really frustrated because we want the perfect relationship, but it's like, okay, in order to tune into that, the stuff you've got to let go of. It's like you've got to empty your closet out. You've got to empty your emotional closet out too, because who you are now, you know, you have a banking background, so you've got this incredible sort of strength, and you have this clarity and the ability to see things that many of us wouldn't be able to. It's going to help you in order to run a business, right? But you're not going to show up here and be wearing, you know, the outfit that you wear. It's a different role, but you've got to let that role go, and that takes a couple of years sometimes just to kind of let some of those deeper things shift.
Yeah, no, totally. So 2 things there. First, you mentioned the word trust, and you have taught me, and I've learned, I mean, the hard way, but the good way, is that it's all about trusting your intuition, right? So
you're really good at trusting yourself. I think the thing is, when it's easy, that's when we get scared, because we're like, oh, am I being a bit silly about this? Should I be spending money on this? You know what? It's not the sort of trust where you're like, oh, it's just like everything around me is sort of resonates. You're not just going one morning going, I'm going to go and do that, right? I'm sitting, how does that feel? That feels really strong around me. Everything around me is starting to tee up to support this. Take the step.
Yeah, and like you said, you quit with 300 quid in your bank, and probably, and when I quit, as you know, I'd got to a point where I hadn't really told anyone because I was getting so comfortable within myself with it that it didn't matter what anyone else thought. And so many people were like, what do you mean you've quit your amazing, really chill job in finance that pays you really well? I was like, it just felt right. And people lose their mind. They're like, what do you mean it just felt right? And I'm like, I just know I'm supported.
Yeah, exactly that. And
that's what changed for me.
And yeah, and I think people think trust is hold on, like buckle in, but actually it's so much more flow. Like, I've never advertised. Like, I'm so lucky. Like, PR's happened, this has happened. It's only this year, like after like 6 years, I've, you know, someone's like, you need a manager, so now I've got a manager. It's like, you know, it just, then the flow just happens. And there's been times even when I first started where I was like, oh, there's no one coming, and it took me years to be like, actually it didn't take me years, maybe a good year, when I was like, when there was days where the diary was kind of empty, whereas there's days where like, I need to spend time in spirit because I'm doing spirit work and I need to do that for myself. And it's all the stuff that I've learned myself that I'm now getting to pass on to people, where they're like, more people are moving into this space, whether it's, you know, in multiple ways. Like, you know, you meet some incredibly spiritual lawyers. It doesn't have to just be like you're working in a holistic space, but it's about saying to people, that time when it's made for you, don't sit there and worry in it. Sit there and thanks for it, because things tend to get really, really busy. It's the quiet before the storm. So enjoy it.
I think that's something I've had to really learn. And I remember last time I saw you, you said to me, this is spirit giving you time. And I honestly, I keep coming back to that every day, where I feel a bit like, right. And I have been really busy, but it's more like setting things up. And I'm like, and like about meeting the man of my dreams and all that stuff. I'm like, this is the time for me. So I really try and go back to that. And it's hard sometimes because, you know, we're humans. But yeah, sitting in the space of this time is for me. That is hard. But I'm really trying to do that.
It's mad. It's like, you know, and sometimes you're like, am I being lazy? And that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
With your intuition, because if you sit and go, is that feeling right? Am I just being habitual, me not wanting to do something because I don't want to show up? And you know, where's the balance? And that's what this is a practice. It's a work of art.
It's a life's work, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's like, no one's saying to you, like, we're not saying to everybody go and ditch your jobs. It's not. It's like, you know, I've been in and out of stuff where it's really hard, and having, you know, the challenges of life are insane. They're probably, you know, they're always a level of insanity to that. But it's about, what we're saying is start now, because if you start now, you're just adding something to your kit that's going to serve you so wisely when the time is right. So it's like I say to people, don't just do this stuff when it feels heavy and hard life. Do it when it feels light, because when the shit does hit the proverbial fan, you're then going to be so equipped to be able to go, okay, we're fine.
Yeah.
And it's not a trust. It's not a fake trust. That's why
no.
we're down, because it's not a trust where you're going, oh God, I must trust. Different feeling.
I couldn't agree more with that. But I guess for people that have never connected to their intuition, have never felt that safety, they don't understand it. And I didn't used to understand it, so I can totally relate. But all I can say is it has been the most profound feeling of like, I'm just sitting in, I don't know what the word is, sitting in my worth and sitting where I'm supposed to be. I can fit, and coming back to what you said about, when it feels heavy, it felt really heavy for me at the end of last year. But at the time I was like not giving myself permission to imagine leaving. And then as I did some work over January and February, and then it got to March and I was like, I just need to leave. And I asked my body and I said, okay, right, maybe we don't quit. How does that feel? We just stay there. We go to work every day and we keep doing the same thing that's not lighting us up anymore. How does that feel? And it was like, ugh. And then I said, how does leaving feel? And creating some space for stuff to come in. And it was like zing. And I just thought, I'm just going to do it. I didn't even tell my parents. I didn't tell anyone.
No, that's exactly the moment.
But that's when you know it's coming from you, right? And that's
the very fact that you're having, sometimes we ask out is just to give us also, it's not bad to ask out. It just gives us that feeling of like, okay, how did that resonate when they said that? And actually, if my body's going, but it's really about trusting yourself.
Which is one of the hardest things. And I guess that's why a lot of people come and see you, because are they like, okay, what do you see for me?
Right. And I would say, like, I will work with people if they want to do the hard work, because it's hard work.
Hard
work. And I used to do more predictive stuff, but as I got older, it was like, it's not my responsibility. And also, you change moment to moment, day to day. And actually, you're so much more in charge of your life. So let's create it. And I can tell you this is where you're going, but if that doesn't feel right, let's change it.
That's what I think is the key.
Mm-hmm. And I used to do that a lot. I used to be like, okay, what's coming? And then we can bypass. Like, oh, that's coming, so that's okay. And it's like, no, like, you've got to be really proactive in the process. I've got to be really proactive in the things that I want, rather than just kind of going, oh yeah, that's going to come, it's fine.
Yes, that is so true. And I think actually that's what I'm quite good at. I am an action taker. But what I'm trying to work on, and I'm getting there, is taking aligned action only and being able to sit and rest. And as you said, like, give yourself time. It's all about aligned.
Yeah. Especially when you're working for yourself.
Yeah.
It's like, because we come from I think the same background where it's like
100 miles an hour.
100 miles an hour, like, you do it on the fly, your body gets beat left, right, and center, but your body is your tool.
I love my body so much now.
Yeah, it's doing so much channeling work for you without you even knowing.
Yeah.
If you want to start with your intuition, just start by playing with your food. Like, does my body enjoy eating this? And it's talking to you all the time. It's just a different level of that work.
Yeah. So for people listening and then are like, right, okay, I don't know how to tune into my intuition. What would you tell them? Because I know in your book you describe it as tells. So your yes and your no.
It's like an indicator. I feel like you think we all think intuition is like words. Like, some people don't see pictures. I think some people, when they dream, they don't even dream pictures. So it's about working out what your way is. It might be sound, might be visual, might be sensory.
And again, that's things. Trusting yourself, isn't it?
You've got to sit and listen to yourself. I think the most important thing is why we do the exercise, the tell exercise, is because if you've seen someone use a pendulum, what they're doing is they're asking for a sign outside themselves, but they're doing it over the energy. So they're trying to read the energy back. When we work with tells, what we're sort of saying is, what's the energy within? So it's about building. No different to going to the gym and going, I want to work my glute muscle. We're going to work the intuitive muscle, but you've got to kind of work out what those feelings feel like to you.
So when you say doing your tells, then it basically is sitting there, isn't it, and getting clear and relaxed and coming into quite a meditative space, and then asking your body, what is my yes, right?
Yeah. So there's a bit of in the book, there's like a kind of a call out mantra, because you need to connect at the same time. So when we're doing this work, you've also, when you're learning it, it's not just about going out in the street and going, oh, what's my tell?
Yeah.
You want to build a space where you feel really safe and comfortable with it, because you make sure you're opening up to the right thing, and so it's clear and brilliant conditions. So the first thing I'd always say to anyone is just practice grounding to start with. You don't have to be a hefty meditator to do this. It might be that you're a little bit more you want to do this louder, doing it in the mirror, but I always say to everybody, connect to earth by grounding, and then open up to kind of spirit, which is what some of the mantras in the book will tell you. And then it's kind of running these tells. So you're kind of tuning, you're basically dialing the radio in. So what you're doing is you're tuning into yourself by going, what's my yes, what's my yes, what's my yes? And that's what the whole is.
And you should get a feeling.
Yeah, you'll get a feeling in a different sort of spot. It might be a physical feeling. It might be a word in your head. It's so different. But it takes practice and doesn't take too much time. But what I will always say to people is, if you're playing with doing like, what's my yes, what's my no, don't just go, that's it forever, because ego gets really smart to it and it can sort of hijack the feeling. So tune into more what the feeling is. So if it's like a prickle in your hand, tune more into the prickle, because it might be like when you run it again, it might be that you get a prickle, but it might be the chest. So it's the prickle that's more important rather than the placement.
Okay, because what I will say is, as I said, I had your book last summer and I tried to do it. But then when I sat with you and you put me into such a relaxed state, and you remember we were asking it about quitting my job, asking my body about quitting my job. And this was one of the main reasons I think I thought, well, I felt my body literally give me the green light, and it was a prickle in my hand. And do you remember I was like, oh my God, I felt it.
Yeah, totally.
And that was game changer.
But these are big questions, but you'd already started on that.
Oh yeah. And I think I knew, and that's why I felt it so strong, because my body was like, you know this, here you go, kind of thing.
Yeah, but sometimes when we're doing that, it's like there's this voice behind going, oh God, like I know what the answer is, but I'm scared to get the answer out. And there's also working in more of a meditative way about it allows you to sort of sink above and beyond and through the ego, and it allows you to just kind of hear that noise without relating to it, so that you feel it clearly, you hear it clear, and it's just an amalgamation of things coming together. Just go, that's it. People call it like gut reaction, or it's the gut. It is that level of pull, but it's different for each person, and it tends to come in moments where we feel like most under threat. What we're working with is working with it, so it's kind of doesn't have to just be something silent and steady that exists in the background, but it's something that we want to bring up into the forefront and go, right, this is part of who I am, this is part of everything that we're doing.
Yeah, and now I'm able to again, it's not always a prickle I get, but I just have a knowing. I think I'm like, yeah, I always have a bit of a knowing of what I should do. And even just like little things where I'm walking in the morning and I'm like, I'm just going to let like my intuition lead me. And I go one way and I think, oh no, I didn't want to go that way. And I'll go the other way. It's little things like that actually make the magic.
That's like, it's like it's not Cherokee, but it's a different kind of, like maybe a druid thing. Like you walk out your front door and instead of going the way that you're supposed to go, you go different, and kind of intuitive walking is really important.
Yeah. And now since I've left my job, I've been waking up every day and asking my intuition what we want to do. And this is quite a cool example. So one day, it was about a couple of months ago, actually, maybe at least 6 weeks, woke up and it was like, I said, like, what do you want to do? And it was like, go to Dishoom for breakfast. And I was like, I don't know if that's my intuition, but it felt really strong. And I was like, okay, maybe it's about having a nice day. I'm just going to go take myself for breakfast. So I got there and I sat down and I was reading my book, and I had a lovely waitress. I felt really connected to her. She was chatting to me, and then my food took a while to come, but I honestly hadn't even noticed because I was just reading my book and all this. And I was, and I just thought, oh, this is why my intuition led me there. And then they bought my food and there was like something a bit wrong on the plate. I didn't even notice, but she was like, oh, I'm going to take it back. And anyway, at the end, she came up to me and she said, this is completely on the house, and here is a voucher for a free meal next time because we took too long with your food. And I was like, what? And there you go. I went to Dishoom and I got a free breakfast, and my body knew that was going to happen somehow. Right. So would you say it's your sixth sense, or connected to your higher self? Because I find that a bit like, is it spirit telling me? Is it me telling me? Do you know what I mean?
Everything's connected. We live on this great big spider web. So it's the vibes of the day. The more in tune you are with where you want to be in life. So that was more I'd call manifesting, in terms of you're like, right, I'm ready to see good things happening in my life. So now Spirit's saying to me and you're saying to me, and this is this perfect collaboration, which is if you step that way, then you're going to feel that support. You're going to feel that we're here for you. So it's higher self, it's inner self, it's outer self. It's all of it. We can't be too linear with it. I couldn't just say because it's this coming from up here, because sometimes it's a bigger sense of something protecting me, my angels, or it might be like the God within that sort of rises. It's all sort of the same thing, but of different degrees and different angles and coming from different dimensions. And that's why we've got to kind of not just go, it's this or it's nothing, because it changes.
Yeah, it does. And angels, okay. Yeah. So I never thought I would be talking about angels, but honestly, I feel weirdly, crazily connected to them. And so many things have happened to me lately where I've gone, oh, angels help me with this. And I'm no joke, 2 minutes later, the problem is solved.
Sorted. Yeah.
It's amazing. And this is why I feel so strongly about it, because I'm like, this is actually pure magic. Like, we could all be living this life. But one thing, actually, do you ever get asked, do you ever get people say to you, but you look so normal?
Oh God. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one thing someone once said to me, I won't tell you where, but it was someone said, "Oh, thank you for being so normal," which was
Yeah.
my favourite. But actually, I like that. I mean, I've also been
Yeah.
very skeptical about myself. I don't think it needs to be woo woo. I get quite cross with this woo woo culture because
Okay.
it's not. It's just me being myself.
Yeah.
But I think we've had to historically maybe sort of theatricize it because it makes people feel more comfortable because then they can judge it or, you know, have an opinion about it. But you'd be so surprised about the people who carry crystals, the people who are doing all that stuff.
Yeah.
And they just don't feel the need to talk about it.
I know it's getting a bit more normalized, isn't it? But I can't wait until it's just as natural as anything else in the world.
But I think it'll always be challenged.
Do you think? Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like religion. It's like,
yeah, but not everyone feels like they can tap into it, do they?
Well, I always find the people who are kind of most sort of skeptical about it, the people who are most interested, it's fear.
Yeah.
It's the fear of like, if I do that and I trust that, you know, some people are complete atheists, but they have different beliefs. But somewhere along that, we're all saying the same thing. Like, I went away to Brazil once, and the doctor there was really into all the kind of because for me, it's like these things can work side by side.
Yeah.
When you're coming from this sort of work, you're coming from a place of love, and some people are really out of love, and their souls come in here not to experience love or to feel so separate from love that anything that I'm doing is greatly offensive. And I get that. It's not my job to sort of sit and work through it, and I'm not here for everybody. So I feel like there's always going to be challenge and conflict, but actually it's about kind of not ignoring the differences. It's about going, you're completely entitled.
Yeah, I love that.
I don't need to apologize for what I'm doing because I'm also completely entitled to be doing it over here.
Yeah, but you're living out your soul path as well. So, you know, everyone's different.
You think about all the witches that got burned, you think about like this whole kind of thing about, you know, powerful women. I mean, we're having a great time with it right now, but it's no different. It's this feeling of kind of like you're not living in a system that's taken years and years and years for people like empires. You know, we live in an empiric state. Like, we don't come from heart center space. If we were from Chile or something like that, we'd be like much more in our heart energy and much more open. But, you know, I think the UK is really trying hard.
Yeah, I do. And this whole heart-centered space is something that has changed my life now. Because I would be like, years ago, I'd be like, oh, I don't really know what that means. And now I'm like, when I connect to my heart space, I just feel this like lightness. And then my vibration feels higher and everything starts to come towards me. But that's a whole nother thing, isn't it? Heart opening.
About how you connect with people, because when you're coming from a place that's authentic and genuine to you, you then meet with those people. So when someone's saying to me, why am I not meeting that person? I'm like, are you 100% in your seat? Are you 100% as you want to be? Like, are you, you know, there's always going to be change. But if you're not coming from where you really feel yourself, you're never going to meet people who see you as yourself.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm really myself now. So we'll see. Okay, so you mentioned crystals, and they're your thing as well. And I've got your other book here, Crystals to Manifest. So crystals, how did you said you were into crystals since you were 7?
God, crystals are I mean, if I could just show you, I'm looking all around my room now, like heaven sent. But when my sister was spending money on sweets and clothes, I mean, I was just always obsessed with gemstones and crystals. And,
wow, okay.
I love working with kids doing crystals because they will just run at it and they know exactly what they want.
My nephew loves crystals, and he's like a little, you know, spiritually attuned. And my sister's like, oh, he loves talking to you about crystals and stuff. And I'm like, yes.
Yeah, right. And it's great as a boy as well. Like, it's phenomenal. It's like, it's that, was it Lewis Carroll? I can't remember, you know, those who never believe in magic will never find it. In childhood, like, everyone's so open to different things, and then it hits this stage where it's like, whoomp, and then we're supposed to forget because then we're supposed to wake up to it. But for me, crystals allowed me to kind of define what's mine and what was everybody else's, so I could go like, okay, they became like my friends. So when everything else felt quite tough externally, I was getting comfort from in that space because they have this amazing ability to affect the flow of energy in and out of our body. So when we're feeling off center, if we don't know it, they will work on that. Like animals, they will realign and reassess what you need.
And how do they do that? Because, you know, I love crystals. I've got them all around my room. But, you know, people say to me, like, what do you mean you carry a crystal? Like, how does it work? So for those people.
Well, the thing with it is then I'm not a scientist, I'm a healer, but everything's energy. That's
Yeah.
science. Everything's vibrating, everything's giving off a pulse. They're naturally occurring minerals. They've been formed under years and years of pressure with the earth. And they just have this incredible way to kind of hold a vibration and a frequency based on where they've come from and different qualities, different textures for each piece. But if we talk about energy, we've got the energy centers, we've got the chakras running through the body. This is kind of a crude explanation.
Mm-hmm.
And each of those centers, when they're in alignment, they're spinning almost like in a clockwise direction, filling and fueling the body front and center, front and center. When we feel like life's taking from us, we feel hard, we feel heavy, tired, drained, in the wrong place, the energy starts to spin the other way and we tuck in. And you'll hear quite a dangerous word who go, I'm blocked. No, I don't believe in block. I think if you're blocked, you'd be gone. But I do believe that your energy reduces and tightens and stagnates. So crystals have the ability to take that universal energy that's flowing in the body, but they can direct it at a particular frequency. So you can go, okay, you could say selenites for like angelic high vibe lift, but that's kind of its overall energy, but how you experience it would be different to how I do. It's just like how we experience love differently. So we could never just say to somebody, here, have a rose quartz and you're going to meet the man of your dreams. It doesn't work like that. But energy, it helps with the assistance of the flow of energy through the body, and it translates the universal energy into a particular frequency. And at the same time, it pulls out of the body anything that's stopping you aligning with that frequency. So healing with crystals can be quite we can feel quite emotive with it, but stick with it because it's kind of like that's something that needs to leave you. That's been living in there a long time. Like when people go like, I'm just carrying them, spend a bit of time with them. If you don't understand them, just even having them around kind of affects your mood, your frequency, it lifts it. It's about knowing they're like a Wi-Fi box. They're just sending out a signal wherever they are. The more involved you are with them, the more kind of interactive you are with them, the more you're going to get from them. But even just having them, you're doing something.
Yeah, I love that. And my journey with crystals again started last year. Maybe like, it's been over a year now. But I started really slow, and I think my first crystal was a rose quartz because I was going through a tough time. I'd had a breakup, so I wanted like the self-love element as well.
Absolutely.
And then I've kind of just built up. I've got loads now, and I've built on my collection. But I think my overall favorite crystal that I work with is sunstone, because whenever I am a bit like, oh, I need some sun in my life, or like that energy, I'll put it in my bra. I used to wear it to work every day, and it just kept me like, I just felt good. And every time, that's been one of my favorites.
And it is, and yet someone else would use it, and they'd be like, oh, it might be a bit fiery for me.
Yeah,
so it's so interesting. I always say to everybody, like, get one, start with one,
yeah,
start with 3, and then work with it for 3 days. And by work with it, even if you don't have to meditate with these things. It's using them, put them in your hand, fall asleep with them, put them by the side of your bed, put them in the bath, like let the water kind of up the frequency. Use them in spaces where you feel like this doesn't have to be hard work.
Yeah. Okay, so for people listening, I guess I'm trying to think of what they would say, and a lot of people would say to me, you love crystals, so like what's the best crystal for love? And obviously you said it's different for everyone, but if there was, a couple of crystals that you'd recommend for self-love and attracting more of romance and whatever you want into your life.
Kunzite for like real heart love, because it allows you to sort of reset with what you truly desire, like what you truly deserve. Apophyllite's great because it kind of allows you to allow your heart to open beyond the old fears of love. And I don't think you can go wrong with rose quartz.
Yeah.
Put it in your bathroom. There's the reason why there's so much of it on the planet.
It's pretty
gentle, and if you're going through anything, it's got that motherly love, so it will just support everything you're doing. It's a great support stone for any of the crystals that you're working with.
Yeah, I love that. I think rhodonite helped my heart heal as well. That's a heart healer, isn't it? I got it on a necklace. I put it on a chain.
Perfect. And then you're holding it.
Yeah, I think it really helped. I wore it for quite a while, and then all of a sudden I didn't feel cool, thought I wanted to wear it anymore.
So you embody the energy. That's what the Shirokis would teach you too. Like they used to make these little pouches. I minimize it by saying little, but they put tobacco in it and a crystal and like offerings to spirit, and it's kind of like you carry them, and then when you lose the pouch, it's because you've embodied the energy of what was in them. So I always say to people, when you lose the crystal, it's no different. Or you don't feel like wearing it anymore. I've embodied and I've aligned with that. So
that's so nice. And what about some for protection? Because I know that I used black tourmaline, but it's quite a harsh one, that isn't it?
I was going to say, like, everyone goes to the black pieces. I'm just looking around. I really like obsidian
Yes.
More larvic. I love black tourmaline, but I think you should always use it with smoky quartz.
Oh, I have a smoky quartz. Yes.
Smoky quartz like hoovers all the energy up. Black tourmaline grounds it down. So black tourmaline can be quite grounding, especially someone like you who wants to move around.
Yeah.
I really, for myself, would use labradorite for protection because it allows me to kind of hold my inner heart's truth. So it allows me to kind of reflect. So instead of holding myself in or grounding, it's more about kind of like allowing myself to hold myself open.
Okay, because I use that one sometimes when I want to connect to spirit and stuff. I feel like that's,
It's just it's like looking your inner heart's truth. And just going, there it is. And you cannot feel anything safer than being fully in yourself.
Yeah, so true. And what about abundance and financial flow? I like citrine.
Yeah, so citrine, this is always a tricky one, I think, because I want, like, money is obviously
massive. Yeah, you're not just gonna,
but abundance is a flow.
Yeah.
And citrine is the stone of abundance. So it's an abundance of joy, of anything that you want to attune it to. So it's about what you pair it with. So I think if it's about finance, I feel it's about kind of, you want to have an abundance of feeling happy, good times. And then you want to look at the base layer of kind of where your fear of money coming in and going is. So you'd work with a piece of pink tourmaline. So there's the duality working all the time. So it's not sort of going, hold citrine and you can have it. It's about going, right, where does that make me feel really, all my gratitude? It makes me kind of tap into that feeling that then flows me more into that field of whether that's finance or joy or love. It just brings more of.
Yeah, I love that. And the idea that they work together. So I did one of the things in your book, like a meditation, and I was shocked at how powerful it was. So it was the one where it was 4 crystals. It was selenite, like in between, down there in between your legs. It was pink tourmaline, malachite, and rose quartz. And I did exactly like, I think the pink tourmaline was on the heart, right?
Yeah.
Malachite right hand closed, and then rose quartz open, I think, in the left. And it was crazy. So I did it and it pulled out this fear I had, and it told me it wasn't my fear.
And there you go. They work like, they're like a little dream team.
Yeah.
So in that situation, selenite would be quite protective because you're placing in the base layers more in the human.
Yeah.
Malachite is such an intense crystal.
Yeah, it's powerful, isn't it?
Clearing. So I would say I liken it to, it's not an antibiotic, but I liken it to it. It will go to all the places where you're holding on to things that aren't yours. The rose quartz is like the probiotic, so it soothes or the other. And and then the pink tourmaline's the bit that goes.
Is that what draws out?
It's such a strong. I only got invited into its world maybe like 4 years ago now, when I was like, wow, it allows you to work in a way which is like, there's this stuff that's living, or there's this grief existing within your body, and sometimes we feel like we almost have to therapize it, go over it, but it actually allows you to release it without having to go over the old record.
Yeah, which is what it did for me. It was a fear I've had for a while, and it was also quite like, I know I'm getting more open and stuff, but I saw what it was and where it had come from. And then I got emotional, but then afterwards I was like, that's gone.
Right. Isn't that amazing?
It was amazing. Yeah, I've been wanting to tell you that actually. That was maybe about a month ago. Yeah.
And that's it. It's just about knowing as and when.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't do that every day. That's too intense.
Sometimes we do, and we can spiritual overload as well. We can like go, there's too much to shift and heal. Like, your life's work's about healing, but it can also be fun and light.
Yeah, I find like the magic of the universe is so fun, and that's why I love like sharing this stuff as well. Just because, as you said, I think the people that need to hear it will find it. And you went on was it This Morning or Good Morning Britain recently doing crystals?
Yeah, I do This Morning quite a bit. Yeah, I do This Morning quite a bit.
So that means that people are getting much more interested in crystals, right?
I mean, right, even when I started, like when I left my job, and I remember someone who's in the public space, she was like, "You've done such a great job," she said, "because I've been talking about crystals for years and no one takes it seriously." Yeah, I'm lucky enough, Grazia, Vogue,
amazing
places, a bit Wall Street Journal.
Have they? Wall Street Journal?
Yeah, like, because it's about kind of people are really looking at energy in a different way.
Yeah.
And they're open to it. And it's and I think ITV have been great with that because they don't take the piss out of it.
Yeah.
They're good.
Yeah.
They're kind of, we're looking at a way in which actually this can be really, really useful, but also it's not for everyone.
Yeah. So how do we charge our crystals?
Moon is great because the moon affects the water. It affects the emotion. When she's full, she pulls the emotion from the body. She'll pull the tides back. Emotion is water. The crystals are like little sponges. They sponge up all that energy. Even if she's not full and you feel like, God, that was hectic today, put them outside.
And so they have to be like in direct moonlight?
No,
or okay,
totally not. If she's full, just put her on your window so it doesn't matter if she can't see her.
Okay, good to know, because my flat is like not very light. There's not, and I don't have a garden.
You'll be totally fine, totally fine. And if it's kind of like it will find it's more about the intention.
Okay.
The intention with any of this is everything. So my intention is to the moon. I'm asking you to clear that energy. It's like even if the moon's over here and you're aligning here, you can still align with it. It's like spirit's not always going to be here.
Yeah, like the intention thing, I think, is what a lot of people struggle with, because they're like, well, how can I just set an intention that something happens? And since I do that a lot to clear my energy, clear my aura, because I think I pick up other people's energy, and it does work.
So important, but that's that trust thing again.
Yeah, and a lot of
it's
trust,
stuff which is run a bit deeper in you. It's going to need a little bit of shift and help out, but you'll feel the difference in those, and then you'll know, I'll need a little bit of this, I might need some crystals to help me with that. But it should be play. That's why I said I love working with kids in it, because they're like, if I put my crystals out, they will run from over the other side of a field, grab, pick up, shoot, like what feels good, put down. Whereas we're a bit more like, like it's like you get more than one choice. You're going to be okay. You're not going to get it wrong. We're so scared about getting it wrong.
Yeah. So crystals, then, kind of, you use them as a form of healing when you do your healing with people. Can you kind of feel into if they need them?
Yeah, so I do several different. So I do crystal reading and maybe working with people to work with them for themselves, and then read them based on that. On a kind of a full body being healing, I'll lay them on the body for twofold, to assist me, but also to allow, because when you're shifting and healing, it can feel a little bit intense. So the crystals allow them to kind of go, right, no, there's something very soothing. It's pulsing. It gives them something to tune into away from what I'm doing. So I work with them across kind of many different ways.
Okay, and coming back to healing in general, because I've never really I've had a lot of readings and stuff, but I've never had a healing session. So how does it work? So someone comes to you and they say, can I have some healing? And obviously you're so good at what you do. Do you just know what to do?
I'm, like I said, I was really, because of the way in which I kind of fell into my spirituality, I've been very skeptical. So I always sort of say to people, I'd rather not know what's going on. But if there's things we really want to talk about, we can. I'm a bit more kind of like relaxed. Before I was like, I don't want to know a thing. I just want to go into it. Then I lay them out, and then their spirit, their body, it starts talking to you, like, and then it's intuitive. I'll have like this is where we start. We'll open space. I'll meditate you down, and kind of like the intention. Like, I don't think there's anything bad. There's no such thing as bad.
Yeah, because it scares people, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I feel like if I could sit and tell everybody everything I've been through, the grace is that I've learned to do it with kind of, it's lit. Like I'm turning the shitty things into something really positive. It's the manure that can create something great for where you're taking your life. So it's only ever light. It's only ever brilliant. And the main thing is like a good 8 hours sleep, and it's just relaxing. My thing is I put maybe about 6 years ago, I was like, I'm very specific about kind of who I want to work with in terms of, I'm not going to let everybody in, but this is, like I said, it's hard work. So there's got to be a level of people showing up for themselves. There's got to be that sort of level of showing up.
Yeah, rather than people coming to you and saying, help me, fix me, heal me. I don't want to do anything. Yeah.
Right. And it's just different things that we're healing, right? But there's got to be a level of kind of knowing on our side that actually, like, it's teamwork. As much as I'm working, you're involved in it too, and that's brilliant. That's why you're safe, because nothing's going to take or give you anything that you're not ready for.
Yeah, and I'm so interested because I love this stuff, and I feel like, obviously, one of the reasons I was seeing you is I want to be able to do some of this work. I feel like I'm really passionate, and I want to help other people. So what does when you like connect with spirit, I know it's very personal, but what is it for you? Is it you see things, you hear things? Because I remember with me, you have all the clairs, right? So you felt a lot on me. You were like, oh, and you also said to me, you have a male energy on you. I need to shift it. Like you just knew.
Yeah, and that's taken years. Like I said, and that's why I've never been able to say to you, I just woke up one day and it was this. It's like
Yeah. Okay.
I was born like that, but it's taken me all these years to kind of peel off and really trust and go. You even if I could sit with someone and say this is happening right now, and they'll be like, you're wrong, and you have to sit with that sometimes and be like,
Yeah.
that's fine. And then a couple of weeks later, a couple of months, a couple of years, come back and be like, actually,
that's right.
That. But at the time, they weren't ready for it, and that's why I'm saying, like, I only want to work with people who are kind of like ready for that, because there's got to be a level of showing up. But for me, it's so I wish it was more explicit.
Yeah.
And I really probably take it for granted. But when these films are playing, I'm like, whoa, like that's crazy. But because it's not my stuff,
And you literally are seeing these films.
Are
you?
Like I'm watching a film in the cinema
of their life, of a scene that's happened or that may happen.
Bits of reality, but also then sometimes we go into different dimensions and spaces, and and how it presents to me is it's then how you give it to somebody. It then unpacks and says, it's not like going on Tuesday this is going to happen. Like spirit doesn't work linearly. It's kind of more. Some of it can be very for the here and now. Some of it can be the future. Some of it can be kind of so. It's this. Some of it can be a little bit more kind of like it's subliminal, and it takes a little bit of a while for it to unpack. So it's.
And have you got used to deciphering those messages? Because is it, spirit will only give you something that they need, right?
Yeah, I will. I think the reason they're so, I will never I work with people to decipher them. I can always take an opinion on it, but for me, sometimes they're so abstract. It's because it's not for me to say to you, it's this. It's about going. This is what I saw. Take it, go over it, let it flow, because that's where the real healing comes, when you look at it in the eye yourself and go, that's what that is.
Yeah. Like I remember in one of our sessions where we were looking at what my path is in the career and stuff, and I'd got stuff, and then you were like, just sit with it for a minute, and I did, and I was like, I'm not getting anything. I think I need to just sit in this space for a bit. And you were like, that's exactly what they're saying to me. That's exactly what they're showing to me. So you were like, you've got it. Yeah.
And that's what this should be like. It's not about having a power. We're sharing a space. It's like we're doing now. Like we all sit and trust this, but it's a computer.
Yeah.
I could sit and go, why am I trusting it?
Yeah.
It's just that it's a physical thing, but we're all connected on this mad, brilliant spider web of life, and we just have to be really respectful of ourselves and the things that we connect to, rather than just kind of like we've been taught so much that that's your lot and that's it. It's not.
Yeah. So when you wake up in the morning, do you have to do anything, or do you have to stop stuff coming in?
My mornings are really busy. I mean, again, I think it comes with time, like the protective stuff. So I get up, I will meditate, I'll journal with what's kind of come through. I'll then do like Qigong, or I'll go to the gym, then we'll do a big walk. Then I'll sit and I'll write, this is how I'm feeling today. And then after each person I've worked with, I'll kind of go, that's their stuff, clear that through, go back to what's mine, keep tapping into that. So it's a busy process. For a long time, I'm like, it's fine, my energy's fine. And I'm like, actually, the physical effects of that,
huge
on your nervous system, humongous, because your body, again, it's like a crystal. Like you're soaking all that in. You're like, where am I still holding that? Where am I holding like someone else's stuff, and it's not mine to carry?
Yeah, and when you go to an event, because even I get that, I'm like, oh, I've got other people's energy on me. Like you must be. Are you just like, woof?
I gave up drinking before it was kind of everybody spoke about it more, and it caused quite a lot of kind of offence in my social group. I actually spent a whole year where I just didn't go out socially.
Right.
Because I was like, it got to the stage where I was like, I don't know where I begin and everybody else, or where I end and everyone else begins, which is then when I kind of fell into kind of the woodworking work, or woodwalking. Now I'm just really very selective, and I'll go, get that. But I had to spend a bit of time going, am I not going to that out of habit, or do I really not want to do that? And my body will tell me how I will feel before I go.
Okay.
If I go. And then sometimes I go, is that something, that might have to be a sacrifice sometimes, because that person is my friend and I need to go and do that for them, because I need to show up. Right. And sometimes you just have to know that actually just cleanse, chill the next day.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Okay, we're running out of time, but I've loved talking to you. It's so amazing. So
congratulations on everything you're doing. It's brilliant.
Oh, thank you. So just to end then, 2 quick things. Just one tip for anyone listening that, you know, wants to develop their own intuition and spiritual abilities, I guess.
I'd say start with what you're drawn to. So it might be like crystals, it may be tarot, might be angel cards, animal cards. Start with something that you can your brain loves something it can see. So start with
Visually.
something you can see as a tool, but always work as an assistance to the tool that you are, in terms of you're an incredible, powerful machine. And sometimes you're going to hear it, sometimes you're going to feel it, but give yourself space. If it's like half an hour to play with your cards, half an hour to sit in meditation, start building that into your everyday. It's like learning to play an instrument, just take your time with it.
Cool, great advice. And then for you, because obviously your journey has just been amazing, and over the last 20 years, as you said, what would you say to your younger self?
You were not wrong.
Yay, I like that. You were right. Trust yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing. All right, well, thank you so much, Emma. I love chatting to you.
Girl.
Thank you.
And thanks everyone for listening.
Yay. This will be a very popular episode. See you later.